So earlier today, I'm on Instagram and I'm scrolling and I come across, quite frankly, the most embarrassing top 10 NFL power rankings I have seen in a minute. And of course, it's Colin Cowherds' top 10 teams after the NFL draft. That set me off right away. I had to comment on the post, and usually I never comment on the post. And if you guys follow the Colin Cowherds show on Instagram, you'll find my comment. It's probably one of the top comments. It has a ton of likes, okay? So I'm not lying. It's there, okay? The top 10 teams after the NFL draft. And what set me off is I'm thinking of this already because I'm releasing my post-draft power rankings tomorrow. I sent it in the Discord. I got Ultra's reaction. I got Lenny's reaction. I'm like, am I on something, or are these rankings horrible, right? So I just had to make an entire reaction and video to it because I couldn't believe it. And I want to share with you guys what you think about the top 10 teams in the NFL, because this is my problem, right? People like Colin, who are very, very highly respected, well-respected, great. Love Uncle Colin, right? These guys set the tone for the offseason. They set the tone for the power rankings. They set the tone for even, bettors out there, for people that are investing in these teams. And some of these takes are just really bad, right? Like, people are going to take that advice and use it somehow. So let's try to manipulate that and work it back into what it should be. Okay, so these are the top 10 teams according to Colin Cowherd, and I'm just going to give my reaction. Gronk spike the like button. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about Colin's top 10 and where he went wrong and potentially where you think he went right. And let me know if I'm crazy, if he's actually right, okay? So this is the top 10. As you can see, just in my opinion, unbelievably bad for a variety of reasons. So let's go from head to toe, 1 to 10. Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, can't deny it at this point, right? Back-to-back Super Bowl champs. Now, they're probably not going to win the Super Bowl this year because I don't recall the last team that won 3 Super Bowls in a row. It just doesn't really happen, right? Plus, they lost one of their better defensive players, L'Jarius Sneed, one of the best corners in the league. They still don't have a left tackle. Xavier Worthy is extremely exciting, don't get me wrong. They still have Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, Andy Reid. They're going to be in the race, of course. So putting them number 1, no problem with me. Absolutely 0. Number 2, the Baltimore Ravens. Colin, have we been watching the Ravens this offseason? They have severely regressed. Severely. First of all, they lost the best defensive coordinator in the NFL, Mike Macdonald. You just don't replace that guy. That young phenom of defense, right? I know that you're an offensive coach guy, but you just don't replace Mike Macdonald like that. So that's one. They didn't bring back Jadeveon Clowney, who was their best edge player last year. So that's a small thing. They obviously didn't bring back Patrick Queen, who is one of the better linebackers in football. He's at least in the top 20. He's in Pittsburgh now. That also hurts them because they're in their own division, right? Yes, Madubuike is back. Obviously, they have the MVP of football, Lamar Jackson. But what's in front of Lamar Jackson? They lost Kevin Zeitler, a Pro Bowl guard, right? They lost their other guard, John Simpson, who's now in New York. So they have multiple replacements there at the guard positions. New players on the offensive line. A new right tackle, Morgan Moses, gone to the Jets. A rookie starting at right tackle. Ronnie Stanley's constantly injured, and he's still the left tackle. Yes, Mark Andrews is back. That's great. Isaiah Likely is there. Zay Flowers should take a step in year 2. But their number 2 receiver, they paid Rashad Bateman. I don't think he's all that good. So personally, I don't think the receiving core is all that good. Odell is no longer there anyways, right? So like the depth, if anything, is worse. Right? The running back position, yes, Derrick Henry is there, and that's going to be a big upgrade, you would hope, for the running game. But this is the team that ran the ball, 6 times in the AFC Championship, refused to run it. And then defensively, like I said, your scheme is going to be a lot different. And what made the Ravens the best defense in football was the scheme. It wasn't the players. I mean, as much as I like some of the players, Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Williams, they lost Geno Stone, the NFL's leading interceptor, right? They did draft Nate Wiggins. I like him out of Clemson. Kyle Hamilton's a stud. Roquan's a stud. Get all that. But Kyle Van Noy is your best edge player? I know you've had him on your show, but again, like I look at this Ravens team and I say, there's no way they're the second best team in the NFL. There's no way. They're not even close to one of the better rosters in football. It's really going to be Lamar and a pretty good defense, not an elite defense anymore. Hopefully Derrick Henry can kind of allow this team to have a great balance in the running game, but they usually run the ball effectively and efficiently anyways. He might be a liability in the pass game. So I don't know. I just don't see it with Baltimore. I think they have a variety of issues on this team that didn't exist last year, and I think they missed an opportunity at winning a Super Bowl last year. I really do. I think they totally misplanned and mismanaged that AFC Championship. Cost them a game, cost them a ring, and I don't see them as a top 3 team. They're in my opinion, somewhere around 6 to 8, somewhere in that range. So going from 2 to 6 is a big difference in this type of ranking. At number 3, the Detroit Lions. I don't mind this take. I think Detroit is quite good. Obviously, they have the offensive line. They have Jared Goff there. You're higher on Jared Goff than I am, and I like Jared Goff. Sam Laporta, great tight end. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. I wish they had another receiver to go along with Amon-Ra. But hopefully Jameis Williams can become that. I don't know. The defense, I definitely feel got better. The secondary, drastically better, improved. I talked about it on the 10 most improved teams, which included Detroit because of the improvements of the secondary, including multiple draft picks. Arnold included, their first round pick. Carlton Davis at corner. Then up front, Marcus Davenport, DJ Reader, I think will improve the depth and the run defense up front for DJ Reader. Hopefully the pass rush for Marcus Davenport. I understand Detroit, but I think that there's an argument that your number 6 team is still the best team in the NFC. I do not understand having the 49ers at number 6. Now, I did not listen to you talk about this list. But what I assume you said was that they lost the Super Bowl. And so that the Super Bowl hangover will impact the Niners. Now, unless the Niners have a bunch of injuries, which obviously you're not putting into this ranking, there's almost no way they're not a top 2 or 3 team in the NFC, which automatically probably places them in the top 6. They have arguably the best coach in the NFL. And probably the best offensive coach in football. They had the best offense in football last year, and they didn't lose anyone. They only added pieces, including a guard out of the draft that could start right away, if not give them solid quality depth. They returned their entire offensive line, which should only grow in rapport and chemistry, and some of those younger guys should get better. George Kittle is still there. Debo is still there. Ayuk is still there. Ricky Pearsall is a real first-round receiver. Check his athleticism, right? Like, a lot of people were saying it was a reach, but when you really dig into it, he is going to be able to make tough catches in the middle of the field and separate and give another weapon for Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, by the way, his first ever offseason with Kyle Shanahan, truly. So he will be a better player, you would assume, with Christian McCaffrey and another running back that ran super fast from the NFL Combine that they drafted. So they've got a bunch of running backs behind Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, Jordan Mason, and then now this kid out of the draft. So this is the best offense in football. I think you have to give them that respect. Defensively, the biggest flaw that they had was the defensive play caller, who's no longer there. Brandon Staley enters as an advisor, and they upgrade Sorensen, I believe, to the defensive play caller position. Leonard Floyd is in for an inconsistent Chase Young. I would call that an upgrade despite Leonard Floyd's age. He's been extremely consistent and also available. Arik Armstead's biggest kind of area of concern was always availability. He's gone. They bring in Malik Collins, who is, I think, younger, about as productive, not quite as good at the high end, but Armstead is definitely declining as a player. Javon Hargrave in year 2. Nick Bosa is still there. You add a bunch of depth with guys like Yetur Gross-Matos. Like, the D-line is about the same, arguably, right? The linebacker position got deeper with Devondre Campbell. I understand Dre Greenlaw will be missing some time, but Devondre Campbell can step in for 5 to 6 games. That's fine. Safety position, Hufanga, a All-Pro in 2022, is back as a starter. And they added, I think, a safety that a lot of people liked out of the draft in Mustafa. And then at corner, they got one of my favorite guys in Green at corner to play perimeter corner. Charvarius Ward's on the other side. I mean, like, you look at this team and they got better. Like, they got a guy out of New Orleans to be potentially a depth corner for them. So, like, they only got better and deeper on defense at the secondary level, at the linebacker level. The offense is deeper. They have Kyle Shanahan. They have Brock Purdy in another season, healthy in an offseason. Like, yeah, McCaffrey's a little bit older, Kittle's a little bit older, Trent's a little bit older, and there's things maybe you're concerned about. But I just have no way of not saying that the Niners are the best team in the NFC as of right now. Maybe you would project the Lions to win the NFC. I could see that. Maybe one other team. But really, like, it's hard to imagine, unless they have a bunch of injuries, that the Niners will not be in the NFC Championship game, considering they were in the championship game in 2019, in 2021, in 2022, and in 2023. So they have had extreme consistency because of their head coach, no matter their quarterback. So 6 is absurd for the 49ers. And it's even more absurd by having the Los Angeles Rams 4th. The Rams are a good football team, don't get me wrong, and I love their offense. I think their offensive line has improved. Jonah Jackson added to the mix. They've got, a pretty good interior there. And the right tackle, though, aging. Tight end position, injured in Higbee and aging. Running back, will he replicate in Williams? I would think so, but they also added some depth behind that. Corum out of Michigan. Kupp, he's older, but I still think pretty good. Puka Nakua's a legit number 1. And Demarcus Robinson, I like the re-signing there, as well as Tutu Atwell as the number 4. So there's enough there on offense. I really like the offense. Sean McVay calling plays. It's great balance. I like it a lot. But weren't we talking about Matthew Stafford and his health and his injury concern like last offseason, and now all of a sudden it's not a thing? Right? So that's a little bit like forgetful, in my opinion. Like, I'm going to have to think about that when I'm projecting these teams in, to make the playoffs in the NFC, because that is a real concern. I still believe defensively, they lost arguably the generation's best defensive player. How does that have a trickle-down effect on top of losing Raheem Morris, their defensive coordinator? Like, are we not considering that they might just fall off on defense completely without Aaron Donald and Raheem Morris, despite adding some nice pieces to the secondary, like Cameron Curl, Tre'Davious White, if he's healthy, that is. Darius Williams is back, right? They have some nice young players like Turner and stuff like that, but their best edge rusher is a rookie. One of their better interior defensive linemen is a second-round pick they traded up for that I didn't really think was all that good. That's just my opinion. So their defense, I think, is middling at best without Aaron Donald this year. Although they did improve the secondary, I still think it's middling at best. So the Rams are like, yeah, maybe a playoff team, a wild card NFC team, better than the Niners? Based on what? Like, still a lot of their best players are old, so you're not projecting an upgrade for them. You're only projecting a downgrade. If anything, there's reasons why the Niners might get better and the Rams might get worse, more than anything, at least in my opinion. So I think that's an absurd ranking. And I still have them in my top 10, but like 9 or 10, right? The Packers are legit. I like this Packers ranking. I think that's a very legit ranking. I feel like it should be below the Niners, but around 6 or 7 makes sense for me. I love Jordan Love. I think the O-line is very solid. I think Matt LaFleur's a great coach. I think Christian Watson's about to go off. I like Jordan Reed. I feel like they've got, Reed and a bunch of other guys like Dobbs, Wicks. They can all play. I like the young tight ends in Musgrave. Defensively, I like the change of defensive coordinator. I like the addition of McKinney. I liked the Edrin Cooper pick. I liked the kid from Georgia at safety, Bullard. That was a nice pick. I think they have all the pieces there. Alexander at CB1. Like, they've got enough there. I don't think it's an elite defense, but I think it's a good defense, especially with the defensive coordinator creativity upgrade. And then Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, right? Like, really good players there. So, Green Bay is a top 10 team. Above the Niners, again, I don't know about that. Like, still, to me, there's a gap in talent and there's a gap in coaching. Just personally, especially given the history. Like, has Matt LaFleur ever beat Kyle Shanahan? Like, I don't know. At number 7, the Buffalo Bills. That's crazy. Like, the Bills, sure, they have Josh Allen, like arguably the most talented quarterback in football and a top 2 to 3 quarterback in the league, only really behind Patrick Mahomes, but they don't have Diggs anymore. Like, they don't have a number 1 receiver. I don't think their second round pick was all that good of a pick. At least I'm not on the Coleman bandwagon, personally. I think he's got a great personality, not a great receiver. So they don't really have the receiver talent. I think the O-line is okay. I think Josh Allen makes it look better than it is. I think the scheme is okay. I think Josh Allen makes it look better than it is. I think the defense is okay. Sean McDermott does a good job with the defense. I think they have some nice pieces on the defense. I like how they were able to replenish the safety position, some of the defensive line depth. Linebacker Matt Milano will be back. Corner Rasul Douglas there for the full year, along with Benford, a young player I like. Like, there's stuff to like. Teron Johnson. Like, there's stuff to like on the Bills. I think they're possibly a playoff team, but I don't think they're a lock to win their own division. I really don't, despite me loving Josh Allen. So that seems high, especially when you consider the Texans are at number 9. The Texans are absurdly talented. Like, absurd. They have one of the best defensive lines in football. They have one of the best quarterbacks in football. They have arguably the best receiving core in the league. They have a good tight end. They have a good running back. They have a really good head coach. They have a really good offensive coordinator. They have a solid linebacking core with Harris and Greenlaw. They have a solid secondary led by Stingley, Ward, Petrie, etc. Like, the Texans are arguably the biggest threat to the Chiefs in the entire AFC. And if they're not, the other team that possibly is not even on your list. The Cincinnati Bengals. Are we just forgetting about Joe Burrow? Are we forgetting about what Zach Taylor has done with this team? Are we forgetting about their defensive coordinator that has consistently shown up in big games? Are we forgetting that they upgraded their safety position with Geno Stone and Von Bell returning? Are we forgetting about Cam Taylor-Britt and what he was doing when he was healthy? Are we forgetting about, like, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins? Like, their offensive line is better now with Trent Brown and Orlando Brown on bookends, and then also drafting a kid, Mims, in the first round to add depth to that offensive line. This is going to be a really good offense. They added a Burton in the draft out of Alabama, who will be a nice number 3. I like Charlie Jones too. I like Mike Gesicki as an addition at tight end. Like, this team's better on paper. Logan Wilson at linebacker, Jermaine Pratt at linebacker. Like, sure, maybe they're not as good at D-tackle, but they still got a Sheldon Rankins in there. They still got a BJ Hill in there. Like, they're not all that much worse. DJ Reader is gone, but, like, it doesn't appear that Higgins is going anywhere this year. It doesn't appear that Trey Hendrickson is going anywhere this year. Like, they're probably sticking around this year. So they're a top 10 team when they're healthy. Like, just because Joe Burrow wasn't healthy all year last year doesn't mean they're not top 10. And then the Chargers at number 10. The Chargers at number 10 is the biggest joke I've ever seen. Like, the Chargers are not even a top 15 team in the league. Like, they have Justin Herbert. They have good tackles. But their number 1 receiver on their depth chart is a second-round pick that wasn't even leading Georgia in targets. I don't know about that. Like, their running back position is Greg Roman's scheme is meh. Like, there's a reason he was gone from the Ravens. Harbaugh has to adjust to the NFL once again. I like Harbaugh a lot. They don't really have a great tight end. They defensively are extremely mid, if not worse, below average. Their D-line is pathetic. Their edge rushers are good. Their linebackers are Their secondary is okay. Like, the Chargers are not a very good roster. They just have Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh and 2 good tackles. Like, Derwin James, 2 good edge players. Joey Bosa never plays. They're not a top 10 team. They're barely top half of the NFL, if not at all. They're probably going to rank at like number 20 on my power rankings. And then the Philadelphia Eagles, I think that's fine. I'd probably not have them at 8, but I think that they're a top 10 team based on paper. But even then, like, they were horrible at the end of last year. Like, I've got to see it before I believe it with them to a certain degree. But I do really like what they did this offseason with the coordinator spot, with the defensive upgrades in the draft, with Saquon Barkley on offense. Jason Kelsey's gone, so that's going to hurt. And will Jalen Hurts ever be what he was 2 years ago, considering the fall off he had late last year where teams kind of figured out how to play him? That's something that not enough people are really talking about with Jalen Hurts. He's had 1 good year in the NFL, and people aren't really talking about that. But it might be time to talk about that right now. So, I don't know. Like, this is where I'm going with this. Like, you guys let me know what you think. I just really felt like this list was not a good one. I'll be making my post-draft power rankings. They will be out on Wednesday. And you guys let me know what you think. Gronk, spike the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you want me to do more reactions to lists this offseason, let me know in the comments. It's Mitch. Peace.